Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining us from around the world. It's a delight to be here today on this auspicious occasion. My name is Franca, and I volunteer for Mental Health Fellowship. And I'm fortunate to be an associate director. Thank you to Mr. Kunle Adewale. Today we have a short list but power-packed list of events for the launch of the Mentally Aware campaign. I'm sure many people watching might be wondering, what is Mentally Aware? Stick with us and you'll find out over the course of this event. I want to especially acknowledge our panelists who were here on time. Thank you so much for giving us your time. We value that. Our keynote speaker will join us shortly. And I want to acknowledge our audience, people who are present here to listen to what we have to share with the rest of the world. Thank you for joining in as well. So that we can respect everybody's time, we'll be going straight into our panel discussion. And like I said, our panelists are here to dish out valuable nuggets for why mental health should be tackled and how we can go about tackling them. Our first panelist is the beautiful Ololade Ibrahim, who is an international model. I can see her smiling already. I have on my screen as well the very handsome and very tall Mubarak, Bakare, who is the tallest model in sub-Saharan Africa. I'm almost tempted to ask how tall he is. Mr. Kunle is already on my screen, the founder and executive director of Mental Health Fellowship. And I believe we're missing the delectable Dr. Abiri. If she can turn on her video so we can have her on screen as well. Is that possible to spotlight all five of us? Yeah, she has turned on our video and awesome. So thank you all for being here today. Let's do a mic check so I can hear everybody's voices before I start to dish our questions. We're all good. Welcome. Oh, I love the energy. Thank you, Mubarak.
Thank you very much.
Ooh,
Thank you very much for the compliment.
Nice.
Mic check 1,
well,
2.
If it's thank you so much. If it's true, then really is a compliment. Oh, good morning, Ololade. Lovely to have you here.
Thank you for having me on this call. I really appreciate it. It's so nice seeing everyone's beautiful faces. Thank you.
Awesome. And thank you too. So delving into it, I want to start with Dr. Abiri, who is a consultant psychiatrist. She's experienced and a mental health advocate. Now, talking about mental health, in your experience, what would you say are the emerging indicators surrounding mental health in the world, but especially Nigeria? The emerging statistics. What do we need to know about mental health right now?
Well, thank you very much for having me go first. I'm indeed very happy to be here. And of course, I'd like to welcome every panelist that has been introduced today. Of course, I'd like to thank everyone else who is on the call, who is participating and who is eager to hear what it is that the conversation of the fusion of mental health and fashion is about. I think it's particularly laudable to, see that it's not only professionals who are giving attention to mental health. And that's, very aptly said in what Professor Vikram Patel said, that mental health is too serious a business to be left alone to the professionals. And mental health is everybody's business. Everyone has mental health, whether we understand what it is, whether we know what it is, whether or not it is we are able to identify that we are mentally healthy or not. Everyone has mental health. What we all don't have is mental illness. But we must also understand that at every point in our lives, we are on what is called a continuum between mental health and mental illness. And the things that we do, the things that we do not do, the things that we avoid, the things that we have gone through, the things that have shaped us as humans are, definitely foundational issues that would speak as to whether or not our mental health is intact at all times. And so, since everyone has mental health, our lives are affected by mental health, the actions or inactions of ourselves and other people are affected by mental health. It's also, very important that we look at what the indicators are. Indicators locally in Nigeria and indicators globally as well on a larger scale. There's so much going on in the world right now. So much has always gone on. Insecurity, financial problems, there's the COVID-19 pandemic, which the conversation would not be complete without. And so when we look at things from a global scale, there's terrorism, there's rising insecurity, there's, issues with refugees, all of these things impact on mental health. If you come home to Nigeria, the factors that, affect more are factors like, sociocultural issues, stigma, discrimination, ignorance, awareness on mental health issues, to mention but a few. Of course, there are the economic indicators, there are the myths and misconceptions that we've had over time. Mental health is getting some attention. It's getting quite a lot more attention than it had always gotten. But like I said, when I started, it's extremely commendable that we are giving it the attention that it truly much deserves. It may seem like a little, but every little counts and every little helps towards, achieving the goal that we want to. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abiri, for that succinct response. I love that you said that everybody has mental health, you might not have mental illnesses. That is a question on what you have commented on. Can everyone still hear me, please? Thumbs up if you can. Okay. So following up on your train of thoughts, why do we have, right now, compared to years ago, about 10 or 20 years ago, we have more organizations and individuals propagating the idea of improving mental well-being in every society. Regardless of that, we still have rising numbers in mental health issues and problems in the world today. Why do you think that is?
Well, so I think it's important to highlight, and if all of us wanted to come to, a realization and think about the fact that there's a lot going on in the world. Everyone is not playing as if pretending that these issues are not here anymore. Of course, we're not on the same page just yet, but there's an increasing awareness. There's an increasing awareness that this is a mental health issue. Yesterday, it's interesting, I sat with a lady who is extremely, quite educated. And when I started to, mention some issues about, suicide, psychotic disorders, she was like, she only thought that these things used to happen in movies. She didn't believe that, these things are real, they're with us, they affect each and every one of us. And so sometimes, when you sit in consultations and you ask people, have you been through trauma? They're like, well, they rationalize their trauma. Oh, well, the trauma I've gone through is not much more than what everybody else has gone through. No, these things are significant. Trauma as a child, either physical, sexual, emotional, neglect, trauma as an adult, significant life issues, loss of a parent, loss of a loved opportunity, sleep problems, eating disorders, sexual disorders. The world is, becoming more and more a global village every day. And so knowledge is increasing. People are becoming aware. And of course, while all of that is happening, there are definitely much more issues. Our generation and this century has been faced with much more stress than any generation ever has. And so now that, there's all of these issues going on, there's also a lot of awareness. And so people are becoming more aware. Efforts such as this and many more are bringing mental health to the spotlight. I think that what has helped mental health the most in this decade has to be the COVID-19. And so whether we like to look at the COVID-19 as good, bad, or ugly, what it did for mental health was that it gave mental health a front burner position and made the world start to see that this is something that we need to pay attention to. Thank you.
Thank you too, Dr. Abiri. I think what I got most from what you're saying is the more that people spotlight mental health issues, the more problems are brought to the surface. So it's just for us to keep on doing the good work we are doing, such as this particular event. So the next question I'll ask ask you is, what are your thoughts on the fusion of fashion and mental health?
So I must say that I'm particularly delighted to be on the panel today because I like to describe myself as a fashion enthusiast. In fact, I think people see it more than I see it. I like colors. I like to be comfortable in the clothes that I wear. I like to show off my mood by what it is that I wear as well. And so, fashion, again, is not a newcomer. There's always been fashion. Even as far back as when our forefathers were with the tribal marks, with different necklaces and all of that, with the different styles, the rose, the bubas, there's always been fashion. But what has happened, of course, over time is that fashion, like most things in life, has continued to, continue to evolve and continue to get better. And so there's a lot, going on in the fashion scene. But of course, there's also a lot of people behind the fashion scene. Like, on the panel today, we are, of course, extremely delighted to have, our very beautiful and handsome models who are, fashionistas in their own very right, pushing, fashion brands, pushing fashion statements. There's a lot going on in the fashion world. Fashion is a statement. A lot of things are statements rather. And fashion is also a vehicle through which is, why I must applaud the initiative of the mentally aware. It's a vehicle by which, you can put information out there. I think that something that is also particularly exciting is the fact that fashion appeals to everyone, regardless of age, gender, socioeconomic status, religion. I mean, everybody wears clothes. Everybody has an idea about how it is that they would look. And so for me, fashion is a vehicle for mental health. Mental health is a vehicle for fashion. They have what I would like to, describe as a bi-directional relationship. And I think that, if fashion enthusiasts, including myself, start to talk more about mental health, again, we go back to that conversation I had just, in my last question about how it is that, mental health continues to be spotlighted by the right people, by people want to listen to, people who command a lot of respect, and of course, by issues that, people definitely want to talk about. Fashion is something that people definitely want to talk about because whether or not you like it, it's in your faces, day in, day out, every day and every time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abiri. So, and I didn't know you were a fashionista before now, but now I do. And now I know the importance of wearing your mood. Before I move on to our extraordinary models, my last question for you would be, in addition to this platform and what this organization is currently trying to do, how do you think everyone else can help in curbing mental health rise?
Well, so, I'd said earlier on when I spoke about how it is that mental health is everyone's business. Over time, the responsibility and the duty of care had been left alone in the hand of the mental health professionals, but that is changing very rapidly. We're having, people who we call users, people who have a mental health condition or another talk about mental health issues. We're having mental health professionals who are being advocates. We're having people who have gone through their own trauma or through their own issues, but who have decided to, channel their pain into purpose and see how it is that they can, change, the scenario or what is going on with mental health issues. And so, like in the words of Glenn Close, she has a quote that I like, that what mental health needs is more sunlight, more candor, and more unashamed conversations about an issue that not only affects our patients, but everyone in general. By the time we start to change our perspectives, how we think, what we think, and when we're thinking about mental health issues, it's not just for a few, it is for everyone. It affects everyone, whether or not we see it, whether or not we want to talk about it, and whether or not we want to, own what is going on with us. By the time we see that it's a global phenomenon, it affects me. And if I don't do anything about it, I'm likely to suffer. Then we will see that, everyone's perspective will change. We need to change the language. We need to change the conversation to change the culture. And so how we talk about mental health issues, how we describe people, we should, of course, avoid, using derogatory terms or languages. We should, of course, encourage people to link up with, professionals who can give them the best care. I think that if we think if we put ourselves in their shoes, we are more empathetic towards, how they feel and what they're going through. But most importantly, if you think that what this individual is going through, this individual could be me, we are more likely to give mental health the attention that it very much deserves. So let's start with the language. Let's start with the conversations. Let's start with our behavior before we even start talking about money, government. There's so much that we as individuals can do. And so I encourage each and everyone, on this call today, or who might be listening to it, put in the work to see that mental health, gets the attention that it very much deserves. Thank you.
Thank you, and well said, Dr. Abiri, because thoughts become words and words become action. Please, I have a request. You made a quote that was very powerful. If you can put it in the chat box for us, because I would love us to spotlight that and people to just, use that as a billboard for their lives. Thank you so much. I'd now like to go to Ololade and Mubarak, who are in the same industry. Yeah, thank you for turning on your video. So I'll start with Ololade. As a model, we would love to hear your perspective on how your mental health is affected in your industry.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ololade Ibrahim, and thank you for that question. In my industry, as a fashion model, mental health is not really being talked about, and so much light is being shed on it. It's all about personal thing. If you're being disturbed, it's all on you to take care of yourself, which is one of the most disappointing thing about, about the industry. The fame, the money, the glamorous part of it, there's a lot happening behind the scene that a lot of people outside do not know about. People just see the beautiful face, the beautiful clothes, how the outfit fits you, and that's all. They don't know what you go through behind the scene. So in my industry, the designers, the model agency, the model agency only care about, let me say they only care about the results and the money. I'm just being frank on this call. A lot of models have been through a lot. Hell. When I mean hell, I mean the real hell. In the process, a lot of people drop down. They can't continue with the race. In the process, some people get into drugs, into many things that you end up hearing and you'll be like, how did that happen? Don't you have people who are in charge that you could talk to, or someone who is close you could talk to? No one really cares. So in my industry,
Thank you.
No one really cares. It's all about you.
Yeah.
About you to take care of yourself. They just want to see the results. They just want to see you look good, smile. They don't care what you go about your daily life, what you go through behind the scene. If you're being pained, if you're being molested by any designers or anything, they don't care. The agencies don't care. They only want the money.
Okay. I see Mubarak is nodding his head. Do you want to chip in something else on this? Because I'm sure we can all feel this frankness.
Thank you very much. I was just giving affirmative, by means of nodding my head. There was this statistics. There was this survey some time ago in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. Where the campaign was about, the survey, I beg your pardon, was conducted by a non-profit, the Model Alliance, basically. And, 2/3 of the models that were literally asked questions, talked about there's so much pressure about, the so much pressure they go as regards losing their weight. That's like another, if you agree with me, that's another strata of the issue, And there was some time ago, in 2019, that Ololade came through to Nigeria. If you would remember, we were at an event, and Ololade was saying, man, she's growing fatter, and she needs to loosen up. She needs to lose her weight, because you would not maintain your job if you do not. So these are part of the course, but to be honest, I always say to young aspiring models that the modeling industry is a cutthroat industry. There's such thing as that. That means tough. It's a very tough industry. It's an industry that literally challenges your mental health if you are not very careful and if you are not aware enough. So you need to, I always preach that, every other time, to especially younger models, aspiring models, get to know the basics about this career or this career path that you are getting involved in. You need to understand that. In fact, I say that it is very pertinent that you are ready to embrace rejections, because you will get a lot of them. And this, the ripple effect of this could be mental health issues. That's what I thought to contribute.
Thank you so much.
On what Mubarak said regarding the weight loss and everything, it's a very crazy thing in modeling. Like, you have to maintain this figure. If you're a size 4 before you get signed, you have to be on that size 4 till you exit the contract. If you mistakenly move from size 4 to size 5 or size 6, in the next 2 months, the contract is being terminated without even prior notice or anything. That is how crazy it is in my industry. You have to know what you eat. Many times, many things just challenge your mental health. Many rejections, you go for casting. Is it because of your skin? Is it because of your hair? Is it because of your face? Is it because of your height? Many things that you could not even believe will be highlighted, and before you know it, it's been disturbing you mentally. And before you know, you get broken down, start doing all sorts of things, drinking, smoking. A lot of models drink, a lot of models smoke, a lot of models do awful things due to the way they are being approached and being accepted in their industry. Different agency, different rules, different things, different guidelines to go with. If you do not want to be in this industry, or you do not have the mind, or you've not grown a tough skin, trust me, this environment is not where you can just stay and be happy and be innocent or insane, because it will drive you insane. This environment will drive you insane. Modeling will drive you insane. Casting director will drive you insane. Bookers will drive you insane. Designers will drive you insane. You might just go for a casting, and the next thing they'll just look at you and be like, she's too black, we don't want her. Oh, she's too tall, we don't like her. She's too skinny, we don't want her. Oh, she doesn't fit in. Oh, she's got open teeth up and down. Oh, that's not the look we want. I'm like, how do you want me to do this? This is natural. You don't want me. You don't want the way I look. You don't want my open teeth. You don't want, I'm too tall. So oh, she's too skinny. Oh, some, she's too big. Oh, some, she's too chubby. So it's crazy in this
just to chip in here. So it's a lot of it. This is a whole nother revelation. So thank you so much for being honest. It's an honest conversation that we value. That's the power of conversation. It brings about revelation and hopefully solutions that we can all talk about. Nobody would have known that models and people in the fashion industry will be going through this amount of mental struggle. So knowing what you know now, I loved how Mubarak gave his 2 cents on what people who are passionate about the industry should do before they come in. Knowing what you know now, let's start with the brand influencers, the fashion designers. What do you think they can do better in terms of structure for the mental health of people within the industry? What can they do to facilitate mental health solutions?
I believe they should just accept people the way they are. Acceptance is the key. Don't consider people, don't condemn their effort, don't condemn anyone's look. We all have models in different size, different form, different shape. Just accept everyone the way they are. If you can't accept them, try to give them some words of encouragement, not bring them down or humiliate them with your actions or your words. Words is very powerful. I've been to casting where casting designer tell me, people in Africa, the very crazy one I don't even want to remember. They say you people in Africa, most of them looks like chimpanzee, and the next thing I just turned the whole place upside down. It was a very crazy thing. I turned the whole venue, the whole place upside down. And I got home and I was just so down thinking about it. I cried, I called my mom, I called some few friends, like, how can people be so heartless and say things like this? If you can't accept them, don't say hurtful things. That's just it.
If you don't know what to say, if you can't say anything kind, don't say anything at all. Beautifully said, Adi. Beautiful.
You see,
Mubarak,
I had
over you.
when Ololade was talking, because everything was just spot on, I must confess, and that makes me remember some time ago, just about 6 years ago, when I was only 20, and a young boy from the United States had reached out. He was 17 at the time. He had reached out to me via my email, and he had texted me to tell me. I cried that day, I must confess. I was only 20 at the time, and this boy was 17. And then he said to me that he doesn't have a cell phone yet or a smartphone yet. So he had to, that he has been getting so much rejections. He's an American, because he's 6'4". No, I think he's 6'5". And at the time, I was 6'8", And he said to me that he was surfing the internet and he saw so many articles about me, and that really inspires him, and that brought light to his life, and that he thought to reach out to me to know how I have been able to handle this. He has been rejected a lot of times because he's 6'5", and so how have I been doing it? So I told him, like I said, I cried because that hit me so hard. I felt very impactful at the time. I felt like, oh, so all of the efforts, all of the, all of my contributions has not gone in vain. If someone from a so-called first world country, could reach out to seek guidance from someone who lives in, like Ololade has said, a place they consider, underprivileged or underdeveloped. So I told him that the ultimate is to, first things first, understand that these are norms in the modeling industry. Like I said, I know the effect of this. I know the ripple effect on mental health. And the more reason why I say to people that you have to embrace that rejection, no matter the amount of it. So maybe what made me grow so much tough skin is the fact that I have experienced that even before I became a model. Nigerians, it's around the world, not just Nigerians. Around the world, everybody would look at you as a very tall boy, as a very tall person, and they ask you, are you playing basketball? Oh, fuck, you should be in the NBA right now. You're wasting your life. You're wasting yourself. They don't know the ripple effect these things does to people who do not have a mind of their own yet. In all honesty, you just say this, and I think I say this often, that I think it is very stereotypic that you think every tall person must play basketball. We could be iconic. We could be great doing other things besides playing basketball. And that's one of the things that I tend to preach, with my entire after all, I used to, at some point in time, I had a coach in my career in school who I could be great doing other things. I could doing other things. And ultimately, the question you asked about how this chain, the entire modeling industry could one way or the other impact, or further bring more awareness about mental health. I think there's a little bit of effort, with regards to weight and height and sizes and what have you. It is called the gender inclusivity and positivity. There's a lot of campaign around that. Just like Ololade has said, that people can be accepted for whoever or who they are. Pretty much. There's a lot of campaign around that, but we still need to do more. To be honest, we need to be able to use our platforms, use our entire capacity. And I am particularly very happy about this project. The mentally aware piece and the concept of fusing shirts, fusing fashion into mental health awareness, by the means of having codes, awareness conversations around all of this outfits and what have you, to make sure that people tend to get even more aware. We talk about it in panel sessions like this. We talk about it with individuals. Sometimes, just about 3 days ago, I have a friend who's also an international model. She works around Europe, and she realized that Ololade is our mutual friends. And then she reached out to me with enthusiasm, and she was like, "Oh, Ololade is your friend?" I said, "Yeah, Ololade is my very good friend, fantastic woman." I said, "Yes, I testify she's a fantastic woman." There was a time in Paris that I was so depressed, and Ololade was my saving grace. In honesty, that was what a friend told me just about 2 days ago. So I think that is impactful. If you are able to one way or the other, save someone's life, by means of just get times. So I know I have a friend who will tell you he's now in the UK. He was in Nigeria just about, I think he's now in the UK since about a year ago. He will tell you if you feel so down or downcasted, if he always feels the need to talk to somebody, or else he will die. That's what he says. He said he will die if he doesn't talk to somebody about how he's feeling. I'm serious about this. And that is, so we should understand the concept of selflessness. Like Ololade said, nobody cares. People just want to see the glam. They just want to see the glitz. They don't care what happens on the underground. They don't care what on the current, there is. So I think we should pay more attention. We should let love. Lead. Quite a lot of us, we regard ourselves Muslims. Some regard ourselves Christian. Some, Buddhist and what have you.
Thank you so much.
All of this faith usually emphasize on love. Some time ago, I was reading the Bible, and John, I think 1 John chapter 4, verse 8 says that if you do not love, then you do not know God, because God himself is love. Look at that scripture. That's in the Bible. It says, if you do not love, that means you do not know God, because God himself is love. So I think I'll say that we should look out for ourselves even more. We should be our brother's keeper. In the Quran as well, it says a very similar thing. There's a verse in the Quran that is mandated, that it is being preached to the populace every single week. And it says, I'll quote in Arabic and I'll translate. He says, وَإِتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى وَيَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ وَالْبَغْيِ يَعِظُكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. what that means is that you should be your brother's keeper. And that is very much next to godliness. You should be just. You should do good to people who are closer to you or even far away from you, in a nutshell. I had to quote that scripture because I think people, Africans, are much more emotional when you talk about godliness, but are we truly looking out for ourselves? Are we truly looking out for our families? Are we truly looking out for our friends? Because the truth about this is that some people who had committed suicide. So I had a friend. I have a friend. I beg your pardon, whose half brother committed suicide a couple of years back, and this was simply because he got, for some reasons, he had some investors who had invested with him, and he had some police issues, and he was doing forex, and then he was running an app, that was actually marketing for him. He was running a forex app at the time, but the police invaded his house, took him, apprehended him for no reason, and then this guy had pleaded with them to kindly cancel or put that application on hold, but they never listened to him. And then by virtue of that, he actually lost the entire investment. And because of that, he wanted someone to speak with. He had nobody to talk to. He went on Twitter. He had tweeted. Nobody paid attention. He tweeted the entire incident, but nobody paid attention until he committed suicide. And what he said before he had actually committed suicide was his last tweet via Twitter was that he had tweeted this for people to come to his aid. He wanted people to talk to, but then he got nobody. He had nobody to actually rub minds with. So I think it is very critical that apart from doing all we can to bring more awareness into this subject matter, we need to also friends, our family members, and the likes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mubarak and Ololade. You both are truly inspiring. And I love how you highlighted how Ololade, who didn't even mention it, has helped someone else in the past go through difficulties. It truly is inspiring. And what I'm taking away from both of you in solving problems, to us, it's go a long way. You don't know what people are going through, just like Ololade said. So if you can't say anything nice, say nothing at all. And like you have said, Mubarak, we should always let love lead and be willing to be listening ear to those coming behind us. You've done so much for many of us in this room right now. And once again, I'll now be moving to our fourth panelist, Mr. Kunle Adewale, the convener of this event. Mr. Kunle Adewale, can you unmute your mic so I can find out why you are so passionate about mental health? What is it about mental health and you?
First and foremost, let me first appreciate all the panelists that have spoken already, from Dr.Gbojubola, Abiri to Ololade to my brother Mubarak. All of the things they shared today, I've been kept in the dark for a long time, and it's kind of revelational. And this is what happens when you have conversation. There are things that you're unaware of in certain places. And I want to thank them for being vulnerable, being honest, being open, and being able to share all of this. And that's probably one of the reasons why I'm also passionate about mental health, because I see Ololade as my sister, I see Mubarak as my brother, I see everyone around me. So if you have to be your brother's keeper, whatever affects your brother affects you. Whatever affects one affects all. So I think it's more of that. So it's not about you, it's about your environments. For me, I remember growing up in Lagos, maybe given the kind of environment I was born into and the situation I found myself, there's a lot of gender-based violence growing up. My dad used to abuse my mom, and then so literally it wasn't a fantastic childhood for me. It was very traumatic, and I had contemplated suicide as a young person. Because of that experience, it really affected my esteem as a young person going to school. I don't like going home. Home should be the first place a child should go to, but for me, home is not home, because home is like hell, and nobody want to go to hell, right? So it was kind of very, very dark moment for me growing up. And all of the things, all of the trauma that I experienced. And then I never had access to support system, no access to, okay, you are feeling this, you go and talk to this teacher. Like you're in school, there's a support system, or you're in the community, you are feeling this, you go to. So there was nothing, there was no information, there was no center, there was nothing. So all of these are really big gaps for me growing up. Now that I am growing, and I'm still growing, and I'm fully aware, now it's time to bring that awareness into public, such that young people like myself, teenagers, can have access, because mental health is impossible without access. And access, talk about awareness, like we're here now, is access. There's education. So all of this, and there's engagement. Imagine if young people, if as young as I was engaged in mental health conversation, probably I would have built more a network of friends who I can talk to, like I'm feeling this way, and they can encourage me. There was nothing like that. I literally went through the tunnel of hell, but I survived. But not many people are lucky, they died. So I'm lucky, I'm alive. I'm alive for a purpose, to be able to share all of this, to be able to help more people so that they can find help and they can receive help as well.
Okay, thank you for that response. They say necessity is the mother of all invention. So what have you been doing in the mental health space to help these people you are so passionate about?
I've been doing a lot. Last year, we launched the first mental health fellowship in West Africa. And ever since then, like I said, it's more of access, right? And then ever since then, we have a growing community of over 2,000 people online. Imagine that. I never had that. Imagine what technology can do in terms of access and creating a community, right? So we've been doing that. And also, our alumni who are actually mental people that graduated from the fellowship are now doing fantastic things in mental health space, leading conversation. I mean, they launched the Green Podcast, which is a podcast on mental health converse. I never have access to such. So it's very interesting to see there's podcast, there's fellowship, and recently we launched what we call the Mental Health Tribe. It's a platform for teenagers, by teenagers, through teenagers. Imagine that. So we often think that, old people supposed to lead it because they know all. But I believe very strongly we don't have to, mental health conversation can be politicized. You can't politicize it. You have to make sure that it's open. People who are affected, let them speak and let them lead. So for me, it's more of that. So it's interesting to see the intergenerational engagement and the way we're building a community of mental health practitioners, mental health awareness, and how everybody's finding their own voice. Mental health is about finding your voice, finding where you belong to, and use that to talk. I imagine what my brother Mubarak will do, what my sister Ololade will do after this. We are going to challenge the status quo. Mental health comes with a lot of activism. It does. It does come with a lot of activism as well, because if you don't stand up for yourself, you'll be trampled on and you will die. I imagine horrible things that have been said. Imagine how the graphical description from Ololade, I was just in my head, being a visual person, I was trying to visualize and the experience and the trauma. Not many people will survive it. They will just go and hang themselves. How many people need to die? How many people need to die before we stand up?
The thing with mental health conversation is inexhaustive. You can talk about it till tomorrow and will not even be done. But I like that you, sir, are currently doing something about it. Conversations are important. But you're also doing something quite visual and descriptive, mentally aware.
Yeah.
So I want to know what inspired that campaign. And if you can, show us what you have been cooking.
So it's not just about me. So we have a team of young people. You see, I still mentioned it, young people who are very passionate about mental health. So what I did was to cast the vision, like, okay, I was inspired, I'm a fashionista myself. I love dressing well. I love looking good. I love appearing great. There's so much confidence that comes when you look good. Like, you just carry your shoulder, you carry yourself like, oh yeah, now let's talk, right? So I love that. But recently I evaluated what I've been doing in mental health space. I often say this: life is not about what you do, it's about how you do what you do. Anybody can talk. How are you talking? What tool are you using? What is new? So for me, it's about bringing innovation to mental health space. And then, so thinking about fashion as a concept, as a vehicle for communication, for awareness, for me is just very profound. So I thought about using non-verbal communication approach to spread the mental health awareness. Imagine I wear a branded t-shirt that says you are not alone. And there was somebody actually, and I walked into a particular room where somebody was dejected, where somebody was neglected, when somebody was really dealt with in a bad way. But the person sees the message: you're not alone. You're not your mistake. You can have help. Free hugs here. It's about opening up, using non-verbal communication approach to invite people to accept. Ololade spoke about acceptance. It's very, very, very key. So it's more of making mental health fashionable. Dr.Gbojubola said it. Everybody likes to look good. There's so much stigma around mental health. Earlier, myself and Ololade were talking, like, we just discussed that, like, we talk about mental, like, you're going crazy, you're going mad. Oh no, like, you mean I'm going mad, I'm going crazy. So when you want to start talking about mental health, so through this mentally aware, we hope to change the way people feel and think about mental health conversation. When you hear mental health, you're not scared. It's not, mental conversation is not a conversation around being a monster. It's about you receiving help. And I think so fashion appeal to everybody, looking good, but doing good for social good. And then thinking about that concept of the Sustainable Development Goal 3, which is good health and well-being. So this is also in a way in tandem with the Sustainable Development Goal number 3, which is good health and well-being. How do people feel about themselves? Fashion can actually help us to feel great about ourselves, and then not having communications, positive messages that help people to feel great. So I'm going to show very quickly what we have and yes, what we've been doing so far through that. I would try to share very quickly. Let me see. Let's go there very, very quickly. All right, wonderful. So I'll just show us what we got here. And so you can see mentally aware is a mental health awareness through a fashion drive. So one of the things we have here is you're not alone. You are not your mistakes. You're not your mistakes. So this is one of the things we have. Oftentimes when people make mistakes, they can't accept, because sometimes perfection can be a myth and it can put people in a depression state. When you make mistakes, you are not that, and it's just an event. We might be able to remove events from who you are. So this is one of the things that we do have. And then we have speak up. Your mental health matters. I mean, just like we're having right here now. The mental health of everyone matters, whether you're in the fashion industry, you are in the wherever you find yourself, speak up. Your mental health matters. And we also have this hope looks good on you. Look at that, like somebody who is hopeless, somebody who is thinking of suicide, and this person wearing this, hope looks good on you. The person feel empowered by just wearing this. You feel empowered, and that can even like be a means of escape from whatever internal struggle the person has been going through. Like, after all, you're not hopeless. So hope looks good on you. Yeah, you're not your mistake. Speak up, mental health matters. And then here we have free hugs. Yeah, sometimes people find it difficult to talk to other people. right? So, and some people have built a fence around themselves in a way that you can't penetrate them, right? But I feel like through this fashion drive, it makes it easier to invite people in to receive help, to just have a hug. And we can never, underestimate or underplay the place of human emotion, right? So, I mean, look at this one as well. Rest is part of progress. Sometimes we feel like we must always do something to show that we are progressive. But do you know one of the things that can show that we are progressive is when we rest? And there's no crime in resting, right? Sometimes people want to guilt trip people for resting. Take a rest, right? So, I mean, you have that here as well. So these are part of the things that we have been looking at, and we'll be thinking about using concept and messaging and communications that help people to feel great about themselves, but also to find help as well. These are very, very important. And these are the first limited edition that we just actually launched. It's about limited edition here that we just launched. So because we still have more that is still coming, but we have this limited edition available now for people to be able to, purchase. And I'm sure you have a question next, right? Go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I do. So we've seen it, we feel it, we're excited about it. So what can we do to support this campaign? What can everyone else do?
Yeah, thank you very much. I would just reiterate and echo what my fellow panelists have said about how do we all get involved, in mental health conversation and mentally aware campaign. I imagine that one day Ololade just speak up your mental health ways, matters on the wrong way. Just imagine that as a star as she is, and then she's just working the whole camera, that will help amplify mental health components in modeling industry, because many people will speak up, right? It's going to unlock door for ugly conversation, things that people have said to people, but then to be an escape for people as well. Imagine my brother Mubarak as well wearing that speak up your mental health matters as a face, as a mentor, as a model. That will vibrate, that will connect to so many people. And it's important, right? Because we need to put a face to mental health conversation, and having models and fashion models like this, I think it's just very profound and very important as well. So these materials are available, and people can actually purchase them. So we're selling each of these branded shirts for 10,000 naira. And so these are not like regular clothes you find in the market or eco market. No, these are materials for mental health awareness. So people are not buying, people are investing in mental health conversation. So if you're not buying the shirt, you are making investment in mental health, because any investment made in mental health is never a wasted investment, sorry. I mean, look at what my brother said, Mubarak said, about somebody who reached out actually and said, I need help. Put it out on the social media, I need help. Nobody came to his rescue, but he reached out, but there was no connection. Then he died. So do you mean if I now spend 10,000 naira to create an awareness, that is a waste? That is never a waste, because you don't know who you are actually saving. And 10,000 naira, people spend millions and they're on life support, and eventually they die. Millions on life support. So imagine how much we can do by creating awareness around this. So it's just very key and very important. And our hope is to make this go. It's a global movement. It's a global movement. It's not the mentally aware thing. It's not a Nigerian. I mean, you hear what my sister said, Ololade, about all of the things. Oh, you're too skinny, you're too dark. You have, my wife actually has gap tooth as well, and she's very so pretty. So I was looking at Ololade, I said, Omolele. People with gap tooth, I really envy them because they are very pretty. And somebody look at Ololade and try to dehumanize her. Can you imagine? You must be blind to see someone like Ololade and say, you must be a blind person. Even a blind person will know that Ololade is beautiful. Even a blind person. So your level of blindness is not from here. So for me, it's sorry. So it's affordable. So people are not buying, rather people are investing in mental health awareness. And so there's so much package that comes with that. You know, we have a special thank you for being part of the men. And this is going to be an annual program for us. It's going to run throughout. So today, the concept of mentally aware is to do 100 days mental health awareness. It's 100 days. So from today till October 10, it will be 100 days to the World Mental Health Day, right? But do you know that the World Mental Health Day is every day? Because you can't wait for October 10th. Because people commit suicide, people die, people are depressed every day. Mental health conversation cannot be postponed. You can't say, oh, let's wait till October 10th, then we'll talk about it. Do you know how many people would have died within the 100 days? Right. So beyond
conversation are inexhaustive as well. So if we keep on talking about it, we may never leave. We may never leave. Yeah. I think you speak so passionately about mental health that even a deaf person will know that it's dear to your heart, Mr. Kunle. And I'm sure many of us, I can see Mr. Bushaya clapping. He has been inspired by your movements. And the thing I love most is how you demystified it, that you are not buying, you are investing into someone else's mental health. So for people who are wondering, how can I support the mental health cause? This is one way to do it, to invest in someone else's mental health. And I would love to keep on with this panel discussion, but we are running against time. And I can see Dr. Mojeed is here right now to give us her keynote speech. So before we have her on, we have a little game for those of us that are here. And who knows, if you win the game, you get a free t-shirts. So are we ready? I need to know that everyone is here and not just sleeping. Are we ready? Are we ready? Give me an emoji or yeah, Mr. Agusha is ready. Oh, Mubarak is ready. So for those of us who are not ready, you don't want to miss out on this. So I've posted it in the chat box. Oh yeah, I see a question. There's a question in the chat box for Ololade. If you can address it in the chat box, that would be awesome. So that we can allow Dr. Mojeed to speak, or we can address it just before we close. The challenge or the game is mentally aware. I would like us all to get our creative juices flowing by using this to form an acronym for a piece, a motivational piece, a poem, or anything that will be of meaning and value to somebody else who reads it. But your piece must contain MENTALLYAWEAR. Are we all on the same page for this game? Everybody has gone quiet. Is this too much of a challenge, or are we up to the task? Remember, you have a t-shirt on the line, and you could be the first person to wear the first ever limited edition of the Mentally Aware. I'm going to take it that we have our juices flowing. That's why we're exceptionally quiet. But if you want, but you can keep on using the chat box. If you have your piece ready, you put it in the chat box, and then we'll announce the winner by the end of this program. So that we don't keep everyone waiting, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Mojeed, who is a chief consultant psychiatrist and a public health physician with over 20 years of medical experience. Today in her keynote, she'll be telling us, so that I don't mistake it, she'll be telling us about making mental health fashionable. And I can see how she's dressed. We can already tell that she's a fashionable woman. So you have the virtual floor, Dr. Mojeed. If you can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hello,
I
can you hear me?
loud and clear.
And can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Mr. Kunle, please, could you share my screen? Just that pictorial keynote PowerPoint. It's good to have something pictorial. Thank you so much, Mr. Kunle. Okay, can you see me? I'm having a bit of, okay. So, thank you for that, our host, and thank you all the panelists. It's quite a privilege being on the seat to talk on this topical aspect of health, mental health. And I think it's really important that I've had to listen to the panelists, and that really will make it more applicable for me to relate in terms of the topic and giving this keynote address. We all love fashion like Dr.Gbojubola, Dr.Gbojubola, yeah, Ni Babalola, a fashionista. I also love fashion. Everybody loves to look good, and that is key because there is an obvious relationship between your look and your mood. Before I continue, I am Mashudat, Bello-Mojeed. I'm a chief consultant psychiatrist. I'm also a public health physician and a good mental health advocate. I titled this keynote address as Mentally Aware. Come right in. That is, everybody should come on board. Next slide. Talking about mental health, it is something we all need because it has to do with an important aspect of our existence. When we say health, everybody feels it is only about the physical aspect of the health. That is, do we have a cold? Do we have headache? But even the World Health Organization had put it in a very comprehensive perspective. The health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not just the absence of disease or infirmity. So we could say that key components, the mental health, without which there will be no health because it won't be complete. And everyone has to mind the mental aspect of the health, guard it jealously, because everything that will control or that will dictate how we will behave in terms of our mental health is controlled by the brain and many other connections. So you could see we all need to guard it jealously. Next slide. When we talked about this mental health, it is important for us to know that many a time things that are not mental health are being, disseminated as false meaning of mental health. Essentially, mental health has to do with the way we feel, the way we think, the way we behave, our emotions, our feelings, and all that. And this is important for all of us. After listening to our beautiful and handsome panelists in the fashion industry, I will break it down to say that aspect of mental health is needed to ensure we realize our abilities. All the abilities expected, the mental health will help to ensure that we realize it optimally. In addition to that, it will help us to cope with the normal stress of life. Life is never without struggle, be it in the fashion industry, the music industry, entertainment, medical, all the aspects of life. Life is never without a struggle. So it is the aspect of the mental health that will help us to cope with the normal stress of life. It will also help us to work productively and fruitfully.
And that is what we need in all industry, especially the fashion industry that we want to tap into as a vehicle to make mental health more attractive. And in addition to that, mental health will ensure that every one of us will be able to contribute meaningfully to the society. So we could see those 4 key components, in addition to the other aspect of what it is not, that I've tried to put up on this slide. That is, it is important for all of us. It is normal. It is an aspect of our existence. Next slide. And it is not a sign of laziness or, being weak or being different. We say that in all aspects of our functions, we have different struggles. These struggles could be overwhelming. And when it is well managed, especially the aspect of mental health, everybody will have a comprehensive good health. When we have issues that are not well managed and are ongoing for long, like listening to Ololade and Mubarak. Ololade, I love your gap teeth, just like mine. So, like I was saying, you will see that to thrive in many of those industries or any other aspect of functions, when those struggles are not well managed, when we don't have channels, outlets for those stress, then the stress may be ongoing for a long period of time. And the consequences of the aftermath of this are such that signs and symptoms, that is, features, characteristics that will show there appear to be a deviation from the normal health to the ill health will set up. And that is when we are talking about mental illness. That is, when those signs and symptoms are ongoing for long and they begin to impair with functions and it is overwhelming and the person is not enjoying life, the mental health illness or mental health conditions may have set in. Next slide. And these struggles emphasize the aspect of importance of mental health. That is, we must have outlets to release those stresses or the tension. And in the long run, we will have outlets of support system from personal, friends, family, society, schools, work, and all aspects of our ways of functioning where we work. Next slide. Those aspects of mental health stressors or mental health issues ongoing for long, not well managed, begins to show signs and symptoms of mental health disorders or mental disorders. And the mental disorders will start to interfere with how we function. We know that as social human beings, when we don't have behavior that are acceptable, people start to run away. And people try to ascribe it to what they think it is. They may think it is a demonic affliction, it is contactable, the person will pass it to another person and things like that. And we could have varieties of the mental health disorders, ranging from anxiety disorders, depression, post-traumatic disorders, eating disorders, schizophrenia or major psychosis. But we need to understand that it's on a continuum. When those struggles are coming at the initial phase, when we have the necessary support, the right person to communicate with, the right help needed, then it becomes altered. There's a break in that cycle such that it does not progress to the other end of the disorders. And that is why we are looking at what will help us to ensure we break that cycle of many people moving on to mental health disorders. Next slide. So what are those things that are the warning signs? Or what are those things that will really make it difficult when we are saying that the World Health Organizations and many of the studies have shown that when we have about 5 persons, 1 out of 5 persons will have mental health problems. Major mental health problems, 1 out of 5 will have. So it becomes problem, and it becomes something that everybody should take as a priority. Despite this, it's an ugly picture, being marred by the effect of stigma. Stigma, what do we understand by stigma? Stigma has to do with a negative label. It's a mark of shame that had been on mental health condition or mental health for so long. And not until in recent time, we started to talk about having to normalize mental health conditions or mental health issues. And the pandemic, the global crisis, had made it more than ever before to be at the front burner. Everybody is talking about mental health now. And this is the time to make the ugly barriers to be a thing of the past. And stigma is a very key one when we talk about barriers to raising awareness or to coming out or to even get the help before we talked about accepting the help. So it's a mark of shame. And this mark of shame is linked to many things, including our belief system, especially in Africa, that, okay, mental health problem is caused by demon, is caused by some misdeeds of our maybe forefathers and things like that. And those people that have mental illness, they are giving negative words like stereotypes. For example, somebody that is depressed, major mental health disorders. The person is with low energy, feels weak, does not have interest in doing things, does not go out, would rather, stay indoor, not do anything. And such magnitude of medical condition that the person is going through made the person to be labeled being lazy, laziness. On the other hand, somebody that is feeling anxious and it's affecting how the person is functioning, the person is labeled as being a coward. How will such a person come out? And when we see other people that maybe because of the extent of the deviation from the norm, that they have mental illness, they're labeled as being crazy. Nobody wants to come out to be tagged lazy or crazy or coward. You can imagine saying a man is a coward. It brings down the esteem of the person. So we need to learn the sign and the symptom. We need to learn how does the person look like? What are the things to look out for? But this is not a moment for a big lecture on this next slide. So the main thing, the main drive for today is how to make mental health attractive through the tools or the channel of fashion. Everybody likes to look good. So let's wear a colorful aspect. I think, yes, I'm wearing something mentally, something that is attractive. And everybody should be aware of it. Now we should normalize this talk about mental health and mental health issues. So you can imagine having the fashion industry, which is a very attractive, lucrative. We have a lot of designers going into that, tapping into it, making colorful t-shirts like this one, where we are saying mental health or mental illness is a medical condition, but it does not define me. This is the time to say this person has mental health issues, not that this person is mentally ill. It's stigmatizing. The person with a mental illness is an individual, and the illness is an entity. The entity does not define the individual. So we need to be mentally aware. And I'll give a short story. About during the pandemic, about a year ago, during the lockdown, I think, I saw an adolescent, okay, a teenager really, about 19-year-old, came in, and we had issues with how to place admission and all that. And what were the issues? This person loved music. He loves music, but he's also a bit on the shy side, a bit anxious. And what happened? He started to take stimulants to lift that anxious feeling and to feel more confident in the industry. And in our environment here, what happened? It marred the progression of this adolescent. And as at the time I was seeing, the parent didn't know what to do. It's difficult for him to go out. And this can also relate to another aspect of this issue of the industry, music industry, fashion industry. In Arlington, I think we have many of these designers. At the age of 16 years, he took stimulants because at that time he was also anxious. And after 6 years, of being, in therapy, he started to put those feelings down into writing, graphics, and all that. He listens to music. After a while, he just started to think, okay, I could start to make designs. On the lines, you will have different wordings that are mentally lifting. You will write, you are not alone. Mental health does not define you. It's okay to be, it's okay not to be okay, and things like that. And through that, he was able to raise awareness. And other people going through the same thing started to talk about it. It creates a big conversation because he thought he was alone going through that. So it led into a lot of conversations on that. They will wear the designer shirts and they begin to normalize mental health issues. He was making a lot of money, he was functioning, he was copying, he was relating well, he was happier. Other people were coming out to say, yes, we are also going through this. And he did not only raise awareness, he also made money. And part of that money was donated to mental health programs. So when Mr. Kunle Adewale was saying that you're not buying the t-shirts, you are investing in mental health, that is key. And we should be able to relate with this. Could you just briefly scroll through some of these? Fine designer wears, yes. Could you just scroll down for us to see different ones? We have some saying it is okay not to be okay. Speak out. Mr. Kunle Adewale, could you scroll down? We have some saying hand the stigma. You could just scroll down all the t-shirts. Hand the stigma. Have you smiled today? Come, let's talk about mental health awareness, things, many of that. Yes, more, just for us to see what we're talking about. Colorful, beautiful, direct, clear-cut, erase the stigma. And the message is being never give up. And this may be a word that somebody that's thinking of committing suicide will just look at, and the message will just come. Because nobody, no life should be wasted. Nobody should be neglected because of mental health. People with physical condition are given attention, and similar attention or even better one should be given to mental health. It may be through these colorful pictures that we are seeing. Yes, please stay alive. And in conclusion, this aspect of panel discussion and this address is mainly to sensitize us to what mental health is, what mental health is not, and that We all need mental health. It is an important aspect of our existence. We all need to know the signs of being in a good mental health. We all need to know that it has a relationship with all the aspects of our functions, all the aspects of our existence. And we should make it deliberate effort, intentional, to find out those with mental health issues in our community, to accept them, to normalize this discussion. It's a discussion that should be on daily basis. It's not just a discussion for a time. It is discussion for a lifetime, because mental health affects people across lifespan, from when the child is born till the person goes to the grave. And we should reach out to them by being mentally aware, by wearing color of acceptance for mental health, and embrace them, to tell them they're not alone. So I say to all of us across the world, especially in Africa, that we should come right in and be mentally aware and give it the right position it deserves. Thank you, everyone, for this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mojeed. I've listened to you give presentations, and each time I'm always in awe. Thank you so much, Ma, for that power-packed presentation. If your hands are busy, kindly unmute yourself if you can, or use your emoji to just give Dr. Mojeed a resounding round of applause and all the love she can get. That was amazing.
Thank you.
So I see some of you have put your entries in the chat box. Okay, and Ololade, you would like to respond quickly to the questions someone asked in the chat box. So you can do that before we announce the winner for the game.
So I think Alex or some Alex Adewale asked a question saying, I'm trying to quickly look for the question. Okay, yeah. A quick question for Ololade. Talking about bookers or casting directors telling models they don't look one way or the other. I'd like to know if these selections are based on politics, or it's just simply that those people don't just fit into what the brands want, because I can't deal right now. That can be very draining. Yes, honestly, some models don't fit into that category, and some do fit into that category, but the designers or the casting directors do not know what they want. Maybe because they have one models in mind for a particular look and the model is not showing up, so they just want to cast other models as a spare tire in case the other model they have in mind fucked up, so they will replace that model. But you can do this without hurting other models or hurting people or making them feel bad about how they look, their size, their shape, or anything. You can be kind with it. But some, they are very rude with it, and the way they make you look as if you are the worst human on earth, or you have the worst shape or the worst body type on earth. So in this situation, when you come across things like this, I just feel like when you have people you could talk to, go to them, talk to them, don't feel sad or feel bad about it, because I've been in a situation where I've been rejected many times. Mubarak is there, sometimes I call him, and when I have a boyfriend, then sometimes I talk to him, and sometimes I call few friends that are close to me and discuss, oh, this is what happened, this is what happened, and while sharing, talking about it, it's just all over in my body. And sometimes when you can do that, not everyone have the courage in talking to people, coming out to someone, oh, this is what happened today, this is what happened today. Take note of people around you. When you see that you're not seeing someone for a while, reach out to them. Oh, for like a few weeks, I've not been seeing you online. Is everything okay? They might be going through all sorts of things that we do not even know. They might have been humiliated, abused, or downcasted by one designers or one casting director in one way or the other. Notice your friend, notice the one you're not seeing, notice the one you're not hearing from, reach out to them, talk to them. by doing that, they might want to speak out, oh, this is what happened at my show. This is what happened at the fitting I went for. This is what happened. This is what the designer did to me. This is what someone did to me. In that way, you help them and come out of that mood. And sometimes, for me, how I deal with things like that, I just book the next available flight to one nearby country, maybe Europe. Just go there, relax, 2 weeks, 1 week, then I'm back. I'm back to my normal self and less being odd. That's just it.
Sorry about that. And all right, thank you. Thank you, Ololade, for that comforting response. I hope the person who asked the question feels is satisfied with that answer. So quickly, before I announce the winner, can we turn on our video so we can take a picture? Yay, let's see our beautiful faces, please. Beautiful and good-looking faces, please. Don't be shy. Oh, Toluwala share, please. Janet, please. Helen, Lillian, Vic, Tinuola, Oluwafumilayo, Lasisi. Oh, thank you for those that are turning on their videos. Okay, that's fine. All right. Mr. Kunle, are you getting some good shots? People are already posing. I can see Mubarak is posing. How do we beat that? How do we beat that? Do you want us to do anything special?
He came to
I see
oppress
David
us.
is on the road
No,
and
Mubarak came to oppress us. Ololade can testify to this. He came to oppress us. We'll take it, no problem. God day.
Only one with the God be.